So this is my 2012 Jaguar XF, and today we're going to be removing the front near side door card to access the speaker and change that out. So the tools that we're going to need today are a couple of screwdrivers. We're going to need, I've got a set here with lots of different bits. The bits that we're going to need are a Torx T30 and a Torx T20. We're also going to need a couple of small flathead tips too, to get a few fascia parts off. You're going to need the actual driver handle itself. You're also going to need a very small flathead driver as well. That's just an iFixit toolkit that I've got there. It is optional, you can manage without, but it's a bit more difficult. I've also got this trim removal tool, so that just slides in and then you squeeze the handles together and it pries it apart. Very, very useful, highly recommended. I've got a bit of electrical tape on mine just to protect the paintwork, which I recommend you do too. And there's the electrical tape there as well. So the process we're going to follow is firstly open the door. The next most important thing is to prepare your work area. So we're going to remove anything from the inside of the door card itself. So make sure you get all your Werther's originals out of there. And we get cracking. So what we need to do is remove a couple of parts. So you can see it there, there's a little plastic cover there. We're going to use a small flathead to remove that. There's also two parts here, so just under the handle you can see there's a cutout there with a little slit in it, so we're going to remove this bit of plastic, and there's its partner in crime the other side. So there we go, another little cutout to put a screwdriver in as well. And there's a third part as well coming around the back. It's just this little triangle here, slides out as well. You can easily get a driver in there to wedge it out, so nothing too difficult, and I'll show you that now. Okay, so with my small flat blade, I'm just wedging it in there towards the top and just pry it out like that. There you go, comes out in one piece. Nice triangular part. Now the important thing to remember is when you're putting it back in, it has got this tail, so you need to kind of go like that, so it goes in. And behind there we've got a T20 screw, so we're just going to put that in there. And remove that. There we go. So the next part is to remove the plastic cover in here. So again, I'm using my iFixit very, very small flathead tip here. The real skill is to try and get it out without indenting your... a bit difficult with only one hand, unfortunately, but we're wanting to remove that without, there we go, without actually scratching the plastic work. So hopefully when that focuses, you can see I've just removed that, and it reveals the T20 bolt, 2 of 2. So the first one was in that triangle section, the second one is here. It's just a case of unscrewing the bolt, screw even, lefty loosey, righty tighty. Comes out fairly easily. says, not being able to get it out. There we go, screws come out. Put that somewhere for safekeeping so you don't lose it. Okay, so we've got another part to remove now. Again, I'm using my iFixit flathead, which is potentially going to be a bit too small for this, because it does need a bit of leverage to remove. We shall give it a try anyway. So we just put it into the area that's got a bit more space, and easily, just like that, lever it out, and that's just a bit of painted plastic, which reveals a T30 screw hiding in there at a nice awkward angle. Now the next part is we need to remove its doppelganger on that side. So good fortune for the first one. Let's see if this one is as easy as that was. There we go, excellent. So there we go, that's just the same squarish plastic that's come out. Excellent, put that to one side. And now we shall switch back to our T30 tip this time. It's a slightly bigger screw, and again, you see what I was saying about the awkward angle, it's kind of going like that, just how I've got the driver there. So again, lefty loosey to remove that. If this is the first time that you've removed the door card, these two T30 bolts will be in there very stiffly. So the Jaguar engineers at the factory put them in there very tightly to keep your door card on and your Jaguar soundproofed with no rattles. Now unfortunately these screws are a little bit difficult to get out. For the process of removing the door card, I leave mine in there. It's got a little, it's not going to come out very easily, and it's not going to go anywhere deeper, so it's not so much of a problem that you leave it in there. So we're just going to do the same for the other side as well, because I haven't actually taken that screw out. Okay, so again it's a T30 screw at a very nice awkward angle, so you kind of look like this, so you're going into the door. Okay, so my screw is still in there a little bit. It's not a captive screw, but it is proving a little bit difficult to come out. But the act of removing the card itself will remove that screw completely from the inside of the door, so that's fine. Okay, so we're now at the fun bit of removing the actual card. As I was saying earlier, I'm going to use a tool for this, which is a trim removal tool. It's only about £6 or so from eBay, Amazon, places like that. And what it's effectively doing is creating a flat surface to slide into the door card, and then when you put it in, you squeeze the handles and it separates them like that, so it makes it nice and easy. For this part of the process, I really strongly recommend you put some electrical tape over this tool to protect your paintwork when you wedge it in there. Although this coating on the tool itself is supposed to be protective, it's a little bit hard, I guess, and for the sake of a little bit of electrical tape, you're going to save yourself a world of pain down the line. So this part's a little bit fiddly, it's a little bit trial and error as well. Once you've got your tool in to the part here and open up at least one of the clips, you can see where the rest of the clips are, so you can sort of target the zones that you're going to do it to. So watch me make a fool of myself doing this now. Okay, so one hand here, and we just slide the tool in like this into a bit of a gap. There we go, and we simply squeeze and it doesn't pop open. go down a little bit further. There we go. Clips open, mine's come off quite easily. So I've got almost half of the door card off already. You may need to go around in several places, like I'm about to have to do. So don't know if you can quite see me, but I'm going around the bottom here now. Just doing it the same. And you want to get to a point like this. Now the important thing to remember is that you want to start from the bottom and work upwards, because the clips at the top of the door card are different from the clips around the rest of it. So work from the bottom upwards, get to a point like this where most of the door card is free, and I'll show you the next step. Okay, so what we're going to do now is, it's going to be a bit difficult for me with a camera in one hand and everything else, but we're going to essentially want to bring this top part of the door card towards us, straight out. The clips are quite wide and they just slot into the door card, so the door card's got a plastic square slot which the clips themselves go into. So I've got to pull a little bit hard, not too hard. Okay, so here we go. So you can also lift it upwards a little bit to help yourself. It is a bit busy. There we go. Okay, so what's happened here for me is the rubber kind of window sealant strip has come off with the rest of the door card, which is not what we want to do. So I'm going to just slot that back in and then give it another wiggle. So see me do this. Okay, so the card itself is off. It's important not to yank the card completely at this point because there's a lot of cables still attached. So we have got one cable there for the door release that we need to unclip. So that just aligns like that and comes out nice and easily. So that's now gone, and that leaves 3 cables attached. 2 for the speakers, so one for the main speaker. Sorry, it's not for the speakers. Okay, so it's 3 cables essentially. One for the tweeter at the top here, which you can see. There's one there, and there's one hiding around the bottom as well. So they're quite easy. You just need to feel with your fingers, clip, and squeeze it like that, so you can see it pushing in and it just releases. For this next one, push in and release. And the third one, again it's going to be difficult with the camera, but you essentially push in the tab and it releases. There we go. And the whole door card comes off like that. Okay, so this is the inside of the door, and you can see what I mean by how the clips, oops, there we go, how the clips are attached to this window strip. So these are the ones that are going into the top of the door card. So it's important to leave the window strip attached if you can. And you can see I've got a problem with this part here. So I'm just going to need to give a little wiggle and push down so it's sitting down properly. Okay, so the next problem we've got is that one of the door card retaining clips has stayed in the door itself. So this is the clip here, and the problem is we need that to be in the door card for when we put it back on. I'll show you why. If you look at, so these are the rest of the clips here, like that, you can see, and the problem is that they slide into the port on the door card. So you can realise that when we put the door card back on, there's going to be no way to slide anything in because the gap is so small, and you've got cables attached to you. You're trying to balance it all as one person, so it's just not practical. So you need to slide it in there into the door card before you put the door card back on. So we need to get this out of the door, and to do that you can use just a flathead screwdriver, but again you're going to damage your paintwork and probably give it a few scratches. So this is where this tool comes in handy again. So you can see on this top part of the tool I've removed the electrical tape that I put on earlier, and the reason for that is you can see it's got a little prong in it which is perfect for sliding in two clips like this. So these are quite hard wearing, you don't need to get it perfectly on like I've got it here, but as long as it's sort of in there like that, and then you simply, minding your fingers in the hand part, you just squeeze and the clip comes out nice and cleanly like that, no damage, no scratches, brilliant. And then what we do is we go back to the door card, we remove it from the tool like that, and we find the slot where it's come from. Fortunately on this Jaguar all the clips are exactly the same, so you can mix and match if you get a few of them. Doesn't matter, they don't have to go in the exact same place that they came out of. You just slide it in like that, feel it, and now it's ready to go back on the door once we've finished the work that we're doing. Okay, so it's really going to depend on what you're doing to the door itself. So underneath this panel you've got the window regulator and access to the door latch locking mechanism. That's a common fault on the XFs, is the door latch actuator breaks, so you might need to replace that. So to do that you would need to remove this whole panel and all of the gubbins come as part of that. Today all I want to do is just show you how to remove the speaker itself, which is in the door. So this is it here. It's the original Jaguar speaker. You might want to upgrade it, you might just need to replace it if you're getting some weird sounds, if you've turned the bass up a bit too loud in your favourite Dizzy Rascal track, or something like that. So what we're going to do for this speaker is, it's very easy. There's 1, 2, 3 screws. They are T20, yes they are, they're T20 in size. So we're going to use that bit, the one that we used earlier, and simply going to remove the 3 screws here. Now the good news with this is that Jaguar have some, on the speaker itself there's a couple of retaining clips, so you don't need to worry too much about catching the speaker with one hand because it won't fall out on you, don't worry. Just remove the 3 screws and it will stay in the door card until you've undone the cable and ready to remove it. So we've taken the 3 screws out, I'm just going to take this clip out, so again squeeze it in and remove. Depending on how brittle or how old your Jag is, you may need to use a little flathead to help persuade that clip to come out. And now it's simply a case of removing the speaker like that, and there we go, easy peasy. So that's the speaker unit. You can replace that, you can repair it, do whatever you need to do with it. Reinstallation is exactly the same as removal, but just in reverse. So all right, let me just show you. So these, you can see it's got a retaining clip here, which keeps the speaker in the card when you're installing it, which is good. In fact, there's two, so it's definitely going to stay in. So just align it correctly. Slot it in like that, so all the screw holes line up nicely. A tip as well for if there aren't any alignment clips or anything like that, is just to take some time and look how the cable has naturally settled over time. So you can see here that when I leave this cable dangling, it sits in that position, which means that when we put the speaker back in, we can, as long as the port's in a similar position to that, we know that it's aligned correctly. I mean, if the port is kind of 90 degrees facing up, then we know that it's never going to work right. So a little tip for you there. Just going to align that. Try not to touch the actual speaker itself when you install it. And then yeah, so just, oops, there you go. Dropping screws is incredibly easy. Line it like that, screw it in. Again, another tip for when you're installing, doing work like this. It can be on your car, it can be on your laptop, it can be on your mobile phone, it can be DIY around the house, anything like that. But where you've got multiple screws used to secure a component, it's important to not do them all up, or to not do one up tightly without at least installing the others, because when you install it tightly, or one screw tightly, it will, so say I installed this screw, it will put pressure on it there, which means that these other screws may not go in the hole comfortably, or align themselves properly. So just do them up loosely at first, so you've got all three screws in place. I think it feels like I may have cross-threaded this screw. I think we're okay. But then once you're comfortable that it's aligned, you can then tighten it up. And the thing with the speaker is that because it's behind the door card, you're not going to get people touching it ever. These screws don't need to be super tight. Yes, they need to be tight to prevent it from rattling, especially when you've got your baseline bangers on. You don't want it coming out or anything like that, but at the same time you don't need it so tight that you're stripping the threads or making it impossible for the poor next guy that's got to remove it. So just tight, you'll get a feel for it, nip it up like that. Check all three, good, and then we insert the connector. Now while you've got the door card off, it's a good time to test the speaker itself. So if you're getting anything weird, or it doesn't sound quite right, to save you having to remove the door card again, test the speaker with it like this in situ. Okay, so we're now going to put the door card back on. What we've done already is we've got all the clips aligned in the door card itself properly, so you may need to adjust them a little bit, make sure they're seated properly in where the clips go, so they align properly. And then this is the fiddly bit, so we need to get the door card on. The best way to do it is to start, well, the first thing you're going to want to do is get it close enough that you can connect the 3 cables plus the door pull, the handle pull. And then once that's done, you want to start from the top, putting the clips in, and then work your way down. So let's see if I can do it first time or not. I'm Not hopeful, but here we go. Okay, so just going to get the clips, the cables at the bottom first. So you can see how close you have to have it. One, start with the blue at the bottom is easiest. Two, three. Next part is the handle pull. So you have to have it really close to that. The cable itself goes at like a 90-degree angle at first, and then it spins round to catch itself. See how close I've got the door card right now, and there's really not much scope to pull it any further without any of the cables coming out. So make sure the window sealant is in properly, and there we go, starting at the top. Good. Clipped in, excellent. And then you need to work your way down, being careful, not too aggressive, but enough to get the clips in properly. Right, so that feels good to me. Once you think you've got it in, just have a feel around, because where you put your fingers in the gap, you'll feel if there's any bigger gaps or anything, in which case you just need to give it a little thump to get it in properly. Also keep an eye on the floor in case any of the clips fall out, or parts of the clip. If they do, you know you've got a problem. So the next step after this is to reinstall the 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. So we're going to do that now. I'll just bring the camera a bit closer. Alright, congratulations for getting this far. That's the final part of the process now. What we're going to have to do is install the screws that we removed before. So I've got 2 screws that are still in these little parts of the door card. They're a little bit fiddly to get out. You may even use your flathead. Oh, they're really hard to get out. Okay. Helps if you have magnetic tips. It will help you get the screw out. So you've got one out. And what I find it easiest to do is to get close. Helps if you have the right bit that you need. So it's the T30 that we need for these 2 screws. And the easiest way to do this is to align it in mid-air like this first, and then when you get close, very gingerly go in like that and align it, and then screw in. he says, not being able to screw it in. There we go. You'll feel it when it goes in. If you feel a lot of resistance as it's going in, you've probably got it cross-threaded, so you want to back the screw back out. And in fact, the best way to avoid cross-threading is before you even screw to the right, to clockwise, to tighten it, screw to the left first, like this, whilst putting a little bit of pressure on the driver, and then that way you're aligning it with the threads, and it should cleanly go in. And again, it doesn't need to be super tight because you've got 4 screws that are keeping the door card in, so it doesn't need to be super tight. So okay, good. Try and do the other one now. Ooh, just gonna dive through here. So magnetic tip again. There we go, got it out. T30 going in. There we go, good. So 2 more screws. Both of these are T20. So find your T20 bit, which I can't currently find. Okay, so found my T20 bit. Slotting it in. Again, mid-air, I've got it like this. Oh. Drops it in there. So you can just guide it in. Go in nice and easily. Again, not super tight, doesn't need to be. What you're going to need to remember is to replace the screw cover. So just slides in like that. This goes in. Likewise for these T30s. So you want to go in that way first and then finish it in like this. Easy. Same for this one too. Good, clicks in. Got 1 screw left to put in, it's another T20 and it's the secret one that's around this side. Okay, so T20 screw going in. Just like that. Again, not super tight. And the final part of the process is replacing this cover. So again, it's like that, so you need to put the foot in first and then clip the rest in. Voila, easy peasy. Now that's pretty much the job done. So just check your work, make sure it's all looking good, and give yourself a Werber's original for a job well done.